So I want to talk about this young man. And he doesn't know this, but I'm going to tell him as part of his introduction. This young man is part of the reason I'm no longer a public school teacher. I'll tell you why when we bring him up. But my first full year as a teacher, I was the fifth teacher in 1 year in New York City Public Schools. I took over a class with 30 students, 97% L, second language learners. This young man was in my kindergarten class. This young man was also in my third grade class, my last year in the classroom. You see him down there highlighted in the front row. Now he's getting ready to go to college. We reconnected and we stay. He's also part of my check-in system. I want everybody to welcome my man Hong to the live.
Is my mic working?
100%. What's going on, man? How you doing?
All right, I'm doing great. All right. So if I were to introduce myself, all right. I'm Hong. I'm currently 18. I'm a senior at Stuyvesant High School, and I live in Brooklyn, New York. I didn't know. Wait, I didn't know that I was I was a part of the reason why you quit public teaching.
Yeah, see, I would not see now you're legal, so now I can tell you all the secrets behind the scenes. And you see Miss Shelley's on there. So there's some people that know you from being young, and now they get to see you grown up. So let me tell that story. We'll get into your question and we'll talk about what you got going on. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe you remember this. I don't know if you remember this. Maybe you still got some of those report cards. So Hong was in my class, and he was one of those students that always got fours. Always, he excelled. He's in Stuyvesant. For those of y'all that don't know Stuyvesant, Hong, how did you get into Stuyvesant?
To get in, yeah, it's a merit-based exam called the SHSAT that you take in 8th grade, and a lot of the topics on there are high school topics. So it's really hard to pass or to get a good score on the test without getting any like test prep, which the public school system doesn't really prep you at all, or from my experience. And I had to get outside help for that test prep. But anyways, yeah, it's a test you have to take, and I believe Stuyvesant High School has always been and still is like the hardest one to get into. For every seat, I believe there's 90 students competing for that. But yeah.
So Hong is in basically the Ivy League public school in New York. I remember, and just to put it in perspective, there's 3 schools you can get into. In Stuyvesant is Bronx Science, and then the school in Brooklyn.
There's Brooklyn Tech as well. Yeah.
Brooklyn Tech. I took that test, and I was gifted and talented my whole school career. I only tested into Brooklyn Tech. I couldn't even get into Bronx Science if I wanted to. So Hong is like top tier student. Always got 4s. I'm going to tell you where one of the reasons I started saying I don't want to be a teacher anymore. Maybe you remember this. So we had to do these monthly assessments. Hong wrote this amazing.
I remember this? My mom made fun of me for it. I remember. Yeah, it was about the essay.
Yeah. He wrote this amazing essay. It was like perfect, no grammar, nothing. I actually wanted to read it, and this is a trick that a lot of teachers don't know. A lot of students don't know. I'm exposing stuff. We have to read 30, 50 papers a day. We don't read those things. I don't. We skim. Okay, there's a thesis, there's 2 points, and we check it off, and we don't even read them. I actually read that story, and I was like, man, this story is amazing. Hong, what happened?
I got all 1s. And then I remember when you went over it, you're like, all right, guys, this student got all 1s, but I'm going to explain to you why. No one laughed. And I giggled a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I was a cheeky little 3rd grader, but I laughed a bit. And then it turns out it was my paper. But yeah, I think my biggest issue with that essay was the fact that I was never told it was an essay. And to give a bit of background, they've been holding after school programs for students like me, especially like second English language learners. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but English is my second language, believe it or not. Like when I met Mr. H, I couldn't speak a word of English, but yeah. Well, we had like these after school programs, and they taught us how to write essays. They teach you how to write introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion, all that. So I already knew how to write an essay, but the issue was during the test, it did not say write an essay. It said anything except for writing an essay. And I didn't expect that because I was always taught that to write an essay, they have to ask you to write an essay. So I was prepared. But on this test, I wasn't prepared because the format was just so odd. It was like write about this, write about that. So like, all right, I'll write about this, I'll write about that. But it was not in an essay format, so I completely failed that test.
He would have put a space and made it 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs. It would have been fours. There were supporting arguments. I mean, this is like a beautiful, like even like a sixth grader doesn't write like this. He wrote like that in third grade, and I had to give him ones, and I couldn't give him points because I was locked into a rubric, which kind of brings me over into test prep. Now, I just wanted to share that. I don't want to go on and on, but I want you to know that it's not a negative thing; it's a positive thing. But it just goes to show like the hypocrisy and some of the bureaucracy and some of the things that like I hated about being a teacher. And I know a lot of teachers on here. And if you you don't want to lose your job, you don't want to say nothing crazy, but you can say what it is. We spend so much time focusing on test prep as opposed to teaching and actually making sure students are enjoying learning and maximizing their skill sets. We whittle it all down to a test, and then kids are judged based on the test score. So that's me on my little soapbox. I'm gonna shut up now. But you're 18. You're
Yeah.
in the top tier program. You're going to college. Any questions? Anything you want to know? Anything you want to add? Anything you want to share in this debate?
So I've already applied to a lot of college, or not a lot. Like I think it was around 10 or 11, and I've gone to my safety. So I am definitely going to college. But my take on this like whole debate is like it's a bit mixed, right? Because I'm definitely agreeing with you. Like if your parents are the reason why you're going to college, chances are you're not going to succeed in college, and it's not for you because you got to be the one that's really wanting to learn about this topic, whatever major you're in. And money wise, right? It's not financially smart to just put to go into debt for something that you don't even want to do at the end of the day, right? And a lot of these jobs, again, like as you said before, unless you're going to be like a doctor, a lawyer, like a scientist, there's really no point in going to college for the money because you might as well go to trade school, which costs a lot less and probably you'd find it more fun because there's less like paperwork and stuff. But you start off with a higher salary, and in a few years you won't be worrying about any debt. But yeah, like unless you're really interested in a topic or you want to you want to become a doctor or like a lawyer or scientist, then you should go to college. But like for so many people, it's just you ask them why they went to college because my parents told me to, or like my parents said I have to. It's like a myth, really, like that you have to go to college. I was told this myth too. I'm still being told this myth, but I want to go to college, so that's fine. But I always grew up with my parents telling me because they're immigrants, right? They've never been to college, so but they look around themselves and they see that all these wealthy people, they went to college, so I must send my kids to college too. And my older brother, who's 5 years older than me, also had like the similar pressure, but he didn't end up going to college, and he's fine now. But yeah, that's just my whole take on it.
Let me ask you a couple questions just to kind of put this in perspective. Do you remember at what age you started with test prep? And I don't mean school, I mean outside of schools, test prep after schools.
After schools, I started in first grade. My mom put me in this after school, but it wasn't really test prep. It was more of like my parents were both working. They wanted me they didn't want me to stay home all day, so they sent me to this after school. I just did homework there. Sometimes they taught me like a little bit if I had difficulties on homework, but test prep wise, I didn't get any like. I had a few after schools in the school itself, right? They had a few after school programs for like the state tests, but yeah, that's about it, honestly. And that began in like around fourth grade, I believe, because because we started the state test in third and fourth grade, right? Yeah.
Right. Okay. What are you going to school for?
Right now, I'm looking to major in political science and government because I'm looking to study law. And where else? What else would you study law other than learning about the government and political science? So.
Okay. So do you know how much a degree is going to cost? I know it depends on what school
Yeah,
goes to.
it definitely depends on the school. Yeah, it actually depends a lot on the school. It ranges anywhere from like one of my safeties, which I got a lot of aid for. I think it would cost around like 10,000 for the whole 4 years. that's like the minimum, but the maximum I don't really know yet because I'm still waiting on some of the decisions which are coming out
Right.
later this week or the week after. But yeah, I think the most expensive would probably go up in like the hundred thousands.
Yeah, 40,000 a year. So
Yeah,
$160,000 when you're done. And then to become a lawyer, you have
I have another 3 years of law school, which is even more expensive.
right. So you're going to be kind of in the whole. And I'm not trying to tell you not to go to school because you know what you're doing. You know what you want to do. Listen, when I was in high school, I didn't apply to college. Like it was a known thing I wasn't going to go to school. Right. So that I mean, you read the book Fear.
I read the book, yeah, and then,
Yeah.
your mom really wanted you to go to college too.
Right. So I understood. So you're right on the right track. I know you're gonna be an amazing lawyer. Maybe you know what I'm saying we could do like some sort of discount or something. You know, we work something out. Some real estate trade. We'll work it out. But I mean, I really appreciate you being here and for weighing in. And it's different for me being a 40-year-old speaking about what I think I know, and for you being an 18-year-old who's living through this and dealing with SAT prep and college applications and grants and all of those things. And if you need anything, reach out to the Mary Kemp Foundation. We'll make sure we take care of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, definitely looking forward to seeing you reach your full potential. And oh, you know what I might do? That
Hmm?
with your approval, of course. I still got
Yeah,
that happy video.
that happy. I was looking for it one time. I don't know where it went.
Yeah, I locked it up when I left the DOE. I didn't know what I was allowed to keep up and not, but I'll
Yeah,
send you the link to the happy video.
got it. Thank you.
Before we let you go, I got two things for you. If you want, you can shout out any social media, YouTube, anything like that. And then I want you, if you have one, I want you to share a story. But I'm gonna share something. One more thing about you as a third grader, and then if you have something, you can share it. If not, then that's fine. So I remember we took like some sort of inventory, and it was what do you want to be when you grow up? In third grade, do you remember what you said you wanted to be
I
when you
don't
grew up?
remember. I might have said something like scientist,
YouTuber.
YouTuber.
Yep. You said you wanted to be a YouTuber, and then when we put out that happy video and this, that, and the third, you was like, "I'm gonna subscribe. You subscribe to my channel, and then we're gonna do it." And I think if you go back, you'll actually see. I think you commented on that old YouTube page on the Math Man H page. So you know what I'm saying. Maybe you'll set up a YouTube channel with the law practice, and you give away some gems, and you help a million followers. So you have anything you want to share? Anything you remember from third grade? Was it the
From
best
third
class
grade.
ever? Anything?
It really was the best class ever. I'm not gonna lie, but I also on there was a similar like parallel story from fourth grade as well. I remember I don't remember if you do, but or I don't know if you remember, but in fourth grade you also you left the classroom, right? But you also helped teach math, right? And I think they had this like test that helped determine whether or not you get into this class that you taught. And it was about long division, but something about division I just never really understood. The way I had it in my head was that I would work backwards, right? I'd say what number multiplied by this will give you that, right? And that's how I solved the test. And I got everything right, but they didn't like that I didn't use the way they taught it. So they didn't let me into your class. I remember it took like 2 or 3 weeks later, and they finally put me in. But and for those 2 or 3 weeks, I was just sitting there. I was like, why are the students leaving for math class? And I'm here like, learning boring stuff. But
Right.
yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing that. And what's cool is because you said boring stuff.
yeah.
And I remember I never used the book. We always did
We had like
investigation.
poker cards laying around and everything.
Yeah, we had fun. Everything we did was games. So a little background to your story. So just so you don't feel so bad, I definitely wasn't the person who scored those tests. And I want to say that if you got in, it was probably because I looked at the different way to
Yeah,
see
I think
how
I
this
think it was because of you.
a lot of times. I have so many stories of children that I worked with early on who did it, a novel, who created their own algorithm or solved the problem the novel way. And because the teachers didn't have the experience to understand the steps that the student did, they marked it wrong because it didn't match their rubric.
Yeah.
Again, one of the reasons I felt like I had to leave education, because it was disgusting. The students weren't getting hundreds and whatnot. And I actually had that experience in college, so don't feel bad. I had a professor take 33 points off of a math exam because he wanted a certain algorithm. I did it my own way. All the logic was sound, but it just wasn't what he asked for. So he gave me 1 point over failure for one wrong problem. So, you keep on pushing. Any shout outs? You want to say anything to anybody, anything?
I don't really have any like platforms out there that I use, but no, I'll shout out two people on here. I'll shout you out, Mr. H, because do people still call you Mr. H? I feel like
Yeah, now they call me H. You can still call me Mr. H, though. That's
yeah.
cool. More
All
people
right.
need to call me Mr. H.
I don't know if you know this, but I've been tutoring a lot as well during my high school career, and I think you inspired me a lot too, because I always try to have fun with these tutoring sessions. And again, with test prep, like I feel like like how I got into my high school, I wouldn't have done it without any third party like test prep, right? And a lot of big issues with these specialized high schools is the diversity. The higher you go up in these high schools like Stuyvesant, Bronx Science, Staten Island Tech, you'll find out the majority of students are either white or Asian. There's very little Black or Latinx or Latino students. And I came from 971, right? Like, sure, we have a lot of Asians, but we also have a lot of Latino students, Black students. And like, I found that issue kind of disturbing as well. So I found this, I didn't find it, but I was looking through social media one time. I found this tutoring program called AIM Project, and they help teach like Black and Latino students on SHSAT prep. And I spent like, I think a total of 60 hours into it, and I helped teach these students on SHSAT prep. So yeah, I totally understand their frustration with the public school system. They don't really, sometimes it just feels like they're not preparing for what's really important in a student's like life. But anyways, also I like to shout Mr. Albert. I still remember he also helped prep me for after school. I remember one time, I forgot what grade it was, either 5th or 4th grade. But yeah, I'll also see he's so muscular. Like, he inspires me. He really does. Like, I go to the gym. I'm trying to look like him one day. Really.
Yeah, we
But
got
yeah.
we got to make sure that y'all connect. He's on the live. He's actually on the live. We're gonna make sure that we make sure that y'all get together. We get you some gains in the gym. Hong and I check in every day. He's in the gym. I'm checking in. He's one of those people that get one of those checks. Here, his comments coming up right now.
Thank you, Mr. Albert.
So he's there. And yeah, man, we got a lot to do. If you need some more students, let me know. I get emails all the time. I'll send you a gang of students. I know you'll do a good job with them. Right there in Brooklyn, right in Sunset. So we'll build that up. And thank you again for joining, man. And we'll talk after.
Thank you for having
stay
me.
connected. I'm looking forward to you. I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming on.